I think it's always worthwhile to celebrate what you've done, even if it's a failure, because you've learned so much from it, and that becomes part of you. And like, now I'm older, I understand that much better. And we're also lucky to live in like North America, where they have fail fest, and if you fail but then you succeeded, that's like the most amazing thing. I
Mm-hmm.
recognize that in other cultures you fail once and they'll remember you forever, and you're stigmatized, and oh, you suck at business because you went bankrupt that one time. Whereas here, oh, you went bankrupt but then you started a company, excellent. So a combination of many things that now has changed my mindset on basically that aspect, that it's always worthwhile. I mean, I knew I don't even like cooking, and I knew nothing about the food industry, and now I have a consumer packaged goods company. Like, I would have never thought that. But it's kind of that thing of being a little bit crazy and not understanding the risks, and I think that really represents like how we met. I had no friends who wanted to go to that run. They thought it was dumb to run under the Vancouver rain with lights. And I don't even run. I've never run in my life. But I thought, no, that's a great idea. And I wore a pink wig. I went like all out at something I had no idea about. Pink wig, bright orange pants. That's how you recognize
I think so.
this crazy person. That's the only place she can be going. And so I think that really represents how kind of maybe I jump into things too fast. Maybe not all of them last and they fizzle out, but not being so afraid or scared that it's not gonna work out, because the ride is fun. And I think if the ride is fun and you enjoy it, like, it doesn't matter the outcome in the
Yeah.
end.
Wow, this is exactly, I think, why I'm doing these podcasts. It's for these kind of conversations. A lot of people, they're afraid of failure, and it might have been because they've actually gone burned once by doing something that they really wanted, and then somebody shut them down. And by shutting them down, it could be just like their parents saying, "No, don't do it. It's a stupid idea." Or maybe they even tried something and then it didn't work out the way they wanted it. And now you have to figure something out. And that's the biggest, I think, showstopper, is when people get in the loop of like this analyzing. Oh my God, I need to plan it. I need to know how this works. Like in your case, it would be, I need to understand how the cooking is done, and like what kind of equipment is needed, and how to create these labels and all of those things. But you just jumped right into it, and then you figured things out as you went. And I think this is the fun part that we don't think about when we're looking outside of that. We're kind of looking at this big thing, and it's just so overwhelming. There's so many things to figure out. And what you just said is like the opposite of that. Is why you want to do this, is because it's all fun. You don't know how you're gonna do, or what's gonna turn out, but you just jump right in. And this mentality, I don't know how to get there. A lot of people struggle. I certainly struggle with that. I sometimes stop myself moving because it just looks overwhelming and scary, and I'm kind of paralyzed. And where do I even start? How do you get yourself moving? Like, do you figure out the first step, or is it more like, all right, I'm just gonna share with a bunch of people, see how they react and what comes out of it? What is your kind of action, or maybe mental state that you put yourself in, whether consciously or not? Uh, any kind of practical advice would be really nice.
So one thing is, I think if you start to analyze everything, you get into analysis paralysis.
Totally.
If I had known how hard this is, and if I had known that it would take me 2 weeks, and I mean like 40 hours each, something like 80 hours to create a label, which to me looked like the silliest, easiest thing in the world. If I had known all of those things, I would never started it.
Mm-hmm.
But what pushes me to start things and just is, one, being a little bit crazy, because you have to be a little bit crazy to do anything in any form of entrepreneurship, honestly. And two, and really, so I love the product. My idea was, okay, even if I end up with 50 unsold jars of this date spread, I can eat it. So no big deal. I love it anyways. If people don't like it, it's fine. And I also really, really believe in organic growth, though, at the same time. So for me, I invested a certain amount in just like the basic equipment, the cheapest things I could find to have this like minimum viable product, the MVP. And then everything is bootstrapped to the max. So the focus group was not some outsourced company's focus group. It was my roommate's entire master's class who came over for an event for their part. And I said, okay, you guys sit down now and taste these 10 different jars and tell me which one you like the most. So really being very creative about that bootstrapping and being willing, and I think three, being really humble, because I thought I was this like master of refugee employment and private sector, master because it's my master's thesis and it's my work and all of this, and then in real life you learn that you don't know like 1% of 1% of what you had to know, and being really humble. And honestly, like staying at the farmer's market with like a tiny table because you don't have a stand, because you didn't want to invest in pretty things before knowing it worked, under the rain, dragging 50 kilos of jars across like DC for festival. So really, really being, at least in this industry, I know tech is different, you don't have to drag around anything.
Yeah, except maybe tech debt.
which maybe is easier as opposed to like a physical product, but this idea of being really humble and being willing to start from scratch, and the organic growth part, because I said, okay, I'm going to invest this amount. If I can get 50 people to buy those 50 jars, then that means we're onto something. It means I will have remade the money I invested in, and I can invest some more. And that's how I've done it. That's why it's not, if there are other ways to do it, secretly gather money, do pitches, get investors and everything, and then have the perfect equipment, the perfect label, the perfect anything. To me, that's too much of a risk. And also too, I work with vulnerable populations. If I give them the hype that they're going to have this amazing job at a real company, and then fast forward a couple months, not a single supermarket buys my product, then they're burnt, because they gave their hope in me. They gave up their like issues around food stamps and unemployment benefits if you move into employment, and many different risk factors. That means that I burn their trust. I also burn part of their livelihoods, and at the same time, it's so risky for me because I will have invested all this money, or I will have debt, or have lost investors' money who won't trust me the second time. So my kind of actionable advice is choose an amount that if you lose it, you're gonna be okay. Whatever that, everybody's so different. For some it's 50, for some it's 50,000. But choose that amount and think creatively in a really small. If you saw our first label, it sucked. I printed it at home with my own printer. The jars by hand, everything was by hand. But people love the product. So if what you're building is something that people love, at some point you will have the brand and you will have all the pretty stuff that make it real and sell so much. But I personally always believe in like the organic growth part to overcome this like fear of failure, or fear or like overcome analysis paralysis, because in the beginning it's relatively easy and it's just super fun.